We just got done watching AEW Double or Nothing 2026, and this was pay-per-view of the year. This year, for pay-per-views, there really hasn't been like a very strong pay-per-view to like kind of hold the year down to be like, all right, that's the one. But I do feel like this is the pay-per-view that's gonna hold it down as pay-per-view of the year for right now, at the very least. With WrestleMania being as not so good, Revolution wasn't as good this year, Royal Rumble, things of that nature. This is definitely gonna be the staple pay-per-view of 2026.
Yeah, this show was very well rounded from the start of the show. The energy that the crowd was giving us throughout the entire night. There was not any dead moment in the entire night. And yeah, an absolutely great crowd, great matches. And yeah, can't wait to get into these matches.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because it's probably the best AEW crowd that they've probably ever had, to be honest. They were very, very loud for every single match. There wasn't a dull moment, as you mentioned. And yeah, this was a very, very exciting card. And we started off with a very, very exciting match because we see Cage and Cope win the tag team titles versus FTR in an I Quit match, where also if Cage and Cope would have lost, they would have had to have retired. So definitely a match where it kind of felt like Cage and Cope was just going to win just because of the stipulation that was put on it. And this is kind of the realm of the matches that you want to see Cage and Cope in, as well as FTR. It was crazy because there's a lot of stuff going on, weapons, all kinds of all kinds of crazy stuff going on throughout this match. But crazy enough, there really wasn't a lot of blood in this match at all, if any. Really, there might have been a little bit here and there, but there was really no blood throughout the entire thing, which I felt like was pretty cool because most I Quit matches you could expect to see blood in like 99% of them.
Yeah, this match was absolutely crazy. I am glad that Cope and Christian got the win. We also seen the return of Beth Phoenix back in AEW. She came out and she introduced Spike to Cope so he can end up getting the win. And that was a pretty nasty spot as Christian has him in. He has him in a sharpshooter. Christian or Edge comes around and he puts him he puts Spike around his face and makes him eventually say "I quit." So yeah, really cool. A lot of big callbacks. We also seen a callback to Edge and Mick Foley at WrestleMania 22 with the table on fire spear spot. But this time it was Stokely getting speared by Cash. So yeah, really cool stuff throughout this entire night. Really good way to start things off. And yeah, we have new tag team champions now.
Yeah, this was, I would say I expected it to be a certain degree of good, but I didn't expect it to be this good. I was kind of invested into this feud. The first few matches, maybe they weren't as strong, of course. It takes a certain kind of match to wake them up and make them kind of feel more into the match rather than just normal singles and tag team matches. You need that little bit of hardcore edge with them, kind of. I feel like he kind of has that from way back in his WWE days with the Dudleys and the Hardys and all that sorts of stuff. He has that just little bit of edge to him, that he's always had throughout his whole career. But yeah, very good match. I'm excited to see what their championship reign looks like because it looks like they may go against the Young Bucks next. That's what I'm kind of hoping for at the very least. But yeah, hopefully that will be an all-in match. And for the second match of the night, we have Konosuke Takeshita defeating Kazuchika Okada for that AEW International Championship. Now, this was a win that I was really, really hoping for on this card. Konosuke Takeshita is one of my favorites outside of Darby Allin, and I was really hoping he would have a world title run, but I'll definitely settle for a Kazuchika Okada victory over him and taking his title. This was a big moment for him. It felt like a big moment. The crowd was behind him. The match was incredible. Probably my match of the night, even considering the main event and everything. I probably like this match the most as far as the in-ring of it. But this was a very fun match. Konosuke Takeshita showed that he's one of the best in the world, can keep up with the best in the world, and Kazuchika Okada, and it's to no surprise to me.
This match has been a long time coming. It felt like we were so far away from this eventual match with these two colliding, and this storyline has been going for a while. And at times, I think we both critiqued it a lot. That's been dragging out a little bit. But with the match finally happening and the result that ends up happening, I am glad that it did take a little bit of time. I think it was worth the wait because I think Takeshita, obviously, there's a lot of times where storylines can go by really quick, and within a month, the storyline can start and end that same month. Where this went over a few months now, and yeah, Takeshita finally gets the big win. He turns on Don Callis family seemingly and kind of splitting the ways. Don Callis did try to save Takeshita at one point after Okada wanted to give him a tombstone, I believe, on the outside or onto the announcer's table. But then he tried to warn Takeshita. Takeshita said, "Fuck that, I'm gonna go for it." He ends up hitting a big power driver or a brainbuster on Okada on the outside. And then at the end of the match, Takeshita is celebrating. Don Callis family, Rocky Romero, Mark Davis, Okada are all in the ring. They're kind of saying, you know what, you won, fair, whatever. But then we get the big return of Kyle Fletcher. He shows face and comes out and he kind of celebrates with Takeshita and kind of runs away. The rest of Don Callis family seemingly turning his back on them as well. only to then attack Takeshita, and the end of Proto Shida is official. Unfortunately, Takeshita gets the big win, but loses a guy who I guess he would have called a friend.
Yeah, it looked like we were going to get Proto Shida back. Unfortunately, we will not be getting Proto Shida back. He turned on him. But that does set up a good feud for him going into All In, because that is one thing I was kind of a little bit curious about, was they took this long to do the feud. Maybe you should just do the title change at All In. You're this close to it. It'll be a bigger moment in front of a bigger crowd. London, you know, it's a huge, massive moment for anyone who gets a win during All In, of course. And I think maybe you could have waited that extra month and it would have been a bigger moment. But at the same time, if he has his first big defense versus Kyle Fletcher, I think that's also could be just as good of a moment, assuming he wins, because he cannot lose that match in my opinion. This is finally his big moment, and I feel like the crowd's really behind him right now, and I feel like if he loses, that'll kind of take everything away. So hopefully he'll go into All In as champion, come out of All In as champion, and then hopefully by this time next year he'll be a world champion. Up next, we're going to start our Women's Owen Hart Cup tournament with Athena and Mina Shirakawa. Now, when we did our predictions for this one, we both predicted Athena. We thought it would be a pretty easy victory for her. Not because of anything Mina Shirakawa related, of course, but just because of, you know, Athena is just that good. People love her. Mina Shirakawa hasn't been booked the best, all of that. But to my surprise, Mina Shirakawa actually got in a ton of offense. Athena did pick up the win, but Mina Shirakawa looked great, and this was probably my favorite match of hers.
Yeah, definitely can agree with that. This is one of my more favorite performances from Mina Shirakawa. She definitely showed why she belongs in AEW and why she could still be considered a top woman in this division. But Athena obviously coming on top, I think it's the great decision. She is somebody who should go on to win this tournament and go on to fight for that world championship match at All In. So yeah, I mean, glad the decision. Glad that Mina Shirakawa got to kind of showcase her work with somebody like Athena, who's also a great wrestler. So it's only imaginable that two great wrestlers have a great match. But yeah, this match was really fun, and yeah, glad that Athena is moving on.
And up next, we have Jon Moxley defeating Kyle O'Reilly by submission in the Continental Classic Championship match. Now, this was a big surprise going into it. I was definitely expecting Kyle O'Reilly to win. It just kind of felt like it was his moment. He was kind of really over right before his injury after blood and guts and all that. And unfortunately, the injury kind of got in the way of that. And it seems like maybe they pushed him back a little bit down the card and he'd have to work his way back up, because he did pick up the loss tonight. It was kind of, I would say, it wasn't the best match. I'm not a huge fan of these technical matches. I mentioned that in our predictions. They had a match the previous Wednesday, and I don't really care for it. This was a little bit kind of like that, but towards the end, they definitely picked up the pace, and it was really nice towards the end. So at least the ending was very nice. Jon Moxley does retain, and that sets up a big defense for him at All In, which I'm not exactly sure who they will have up for him, because this is a big kind of card for him to go in as champion, and whoever does end up beating him, that'll be a huge moment for them as well.
Yeah, this match I did enjoy. I love the kind of gritty style that Moxley kind of brings, especially when it works with guys like O'Reilly, who are going to do the more striking, a little bit more of the grappling, stuff like that. And that's what we got from this match. The transitions you get from Moxley and O'Reilly, kind of flipping back and forth into different holds, is definitely really fun to watch if you like that type of stuff. If that isn't your cup of tea, though, I can see why you might not like these types of matches. But Moxley picked up the win. I'm not too surprised. I think I did predict Kyle to pick up the win in this match and become the new champion. Unfortunately, he doesn't, but I think it is going to be better for both of the men. I think Mox can go on, have another feud with somebody going into Forbidden Door before All In, but I think Kyle O'Reilly will still have some room somewhere on the card for him, and I think we can bounce back from this. But yeah, as for who is next for Jon Moxley, I don't think we have any real idea. Obviously, it could be Ospreay, but I do think he'll be more busy with this Owen Hart tournament.
Speaking of Will Ospreay, his match will come up next as part of the Men's Owen Hart Cup tournament, and that's Will Ospreay defeating Samoa Joe. Now, this is definitely one that I would expect 99% of people predicted to have Will Ospreay win this match, but I will say the match was pretty good. I definitely enjoyed it. Probably not the best Will Ospreay match that you've seen or anything, but it was very good. Samoa Joe looked great as always. Obviously, when Samoa Joe comes out and they do the Joe chants and all, that's always like a big moment for me. I love his entrance. It's probably one of the better ones in AEW in my opinion, because he's held the exact same just kind of entrance aura, the song, everything about him has kind of stayed the same throughout his whole career, and I really enjoy that about him. I would say Samoa Joe, I don't know where he goes from here exactly. I kind of feel, I don't want to say lost on the card because he's Samoa Joe. You could put him anywhere and he'll fit right in that division, but I don't really know where he goes. It doesn't feel like he fits in the trios division. The ops are kind of ran their course. It seems like the other members are kind of the ones that's taken the trios division, tag team division, all that sort of stuff. So I'm not exactly sure where he'll go from here, but hopefully they will have a spot for him somewhere in one of these championship divisions.
Yeah, I really enjoy this match as well. Will Ospreay, Samoa Joe, two of my favorites going at it. It did feel like a dream match. Obviously, I wish this would have happened while Samoa Joe's a bit younger and Will Ospreay pre-injury. But saying that though, Will Ospreay still looked amazing on pay-per-view. It felt like he adapted more of a more technical style, picking up more holds now, trying to go for more arm bars and stuff like that. So I do like that from Ospreay after kind of training over the past few weeks with Moxley. I think it kind of makes sense in story. So he ends up picking up this win here and moves on. I think that was an obvious decision. I think pretty much no one expected the other way unless Moxley ended up getting involved in this match, which he didn't. He also kind of stayed after his match to kind of watch Ospreay come out and kind of did a little salute to him while he was making his entrance. So we still don't know what the full story is between Moxley and Ospreay, but I do think Ospreay will have some big things to say on this coming week of Dynamite.
The final Owen Hart Cup tournament match of the night is Swerve Strickland defeating Bandito. Now, if I didn't have Konosuke Takeshita being best match of the night, this would probably be the best match of the night. This was an incredible match, especially the ending, which we'll get into in a little bit, but I want to take in everything because the entrance to Swerve Strickland was amazing as always. You know, he comes out with Nana, he has the new song, everything about it is very good. And then Bandito comes out, obviously kind of the same thing with him as well. He has this big entrance, come out with some very nice gear, and he looked very nice. And of course, when it comes down to the match, it was nothing less than some of the best you will see. Bandito definitely proven himself as one of the best in-ring talents in the world. Swerve Strickland already proved himself as one of the best in the world, and this match, it was just incredible. Very, very fast paced.
Yeah, this match had a lot of great moments. At one point, we see Bandito do a pop-up spot towards Swerve Strickland, and he goes up from the ground onto Bandito's shoulders and does a house call to Bandito. After that, Bandito kind of gets a little bit more offense. He has Swerve Strickland down near the rope, setting up a 21 plex, but instead of waiting to get up to that middle rope, building up so it's a little bit easier to hit, this is probably about like 10 minutes into the match. We see Bandito hit the 21 plex on a laying down Swerve Strickland, pulls him up all the way, hits it. Obviously, he wasn't able to capitalize off of it because Swerve Strickland was damaging that neck throughout the entire match, which was really a nice little detail throughout the match. But yeah, big 21 plex from Bandito wasn't enough. But in the end, Bandito tries to go for one more 21 plex, but it is getting reversed by what we got teased of this past week, which was the vertebreaker from Swerve Strickland. He counters it, he hits it with him, and he does one more house call to pick up the win. And yeah, an absolute banger match. Swerve Strickland now moves on the other side of the bracket in the Owen Hart Cup, opposite of Ospreay. So it does still have that feeling that we'll see Swerve and Ospreay move on to the finals versus each other, but Bandito definitely deserves his respect. Have absolutely great performance. It sucks that he's gonna be a first round eliminated, but it is what it is. Swerve Strickland obviously gonna continue this momentum, I assume, and have another banger match with either Claudio or Brody King.
This was an incredible match. I really enjoyed the ending. The kind of transition into the 21 plex into that vertebreaker was incredible. And yeah, you would expect nothing of the less between these two guys. Up next, we're back to some women's actions with the women's fatal 4-way world title match, and Thekla ends up coming out on top, defeating Hikaru Shida, Jamie Hayter, and Chris Statlander. Now this one, I definitely wasn't expecting. I definitely had Thekla losing this, and I thought some way Mercedes would win the title, that she would go on to face Athena at All In, but now I'm kind of changing my direction on the way, because I don't really think Thekla will be the one going against Mercedes, and I don't know if Mercedes will be back in general, really, because she hasn't done anything or showed any signs of coming back. So I was looking like it'll be Thekla versus Athena, in my opinion, at the very moment. So that's a very exciting match to get into, but the story of this Fatal 4-Way match is going to be kind of the story between Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida. They had their kind of team together for a little while, where they were not necessarily a team, but they were just working together a little bit, and they ended up turning on each other at some point during the match. Of course, Hikaru Shida, the big breaking point, Chris Statlander was going for a pin. Hikaru Shida gets a kendo stick and cracks it across Chris Statlander back, and that pretty much ruins everything after that, and they were just scrapping. This was a very fun match. We've seen all of them get their moves in. Thekla looked amazing. Jamie Hayter, I thought she was the one that was going to win after everything that she's done throughout this match and the bumps that she took, the bumps that she gave. I feel like she was definitely deserving of the win, but Thekla comes out on top, and it was very surprising to me.
Yeah, I am a little bit surprised that Thekla managed to win this match. Obviously, being a Fatal 4, the odds are never in the champion's favor, but she does come out on top. I am a little bit surprised, similar to what you said with Jamie Hayter. There's a lot of moments where I think she definitely could have gotten that win, but in these Fatal 4 matches, what you see a lot of, you'll get these moments where one person kind of takes out one person, but then another person comes back in the ring, they take out them, and you kind of get this repeated cycle. But this time they did a little bit different, where one person would take out two people, then somebody else would come in, then they would take out two people, then you have that cycle going. But in the end, Thekla remains on top. And it is surprising that all the former world champions end up losing to the still current champion. So maybe this is Thekla's era to run supreme. So who knows what is next for her. Obviously, it seems like she will go into All In as a champion because no one else is kind of being built up right now as your world champion. But I still think there's room for a double champion in Megan Bayne somewhere there to finally come in and kind of step in this reign of Thekla. The only weird difference would be that it would be two heels going at it, but I think can make it work.
That's definitely the one negative with AEW. They need to do a better job building their women's division in general. We have the same kind of people coming in and out, and it would be nice to see some of those newer, fresher faces come up to those world title scenes because it does kind of feel a little bit stagnant at times. But we're gonna go into our Stadium Stampede match, one of the biggest matches of the night for Double or Nothing, and this was Jericho, the Hurt Syndicate, and the Elite versus the Demand and the Don Callis family. So a big mashup match. I believe it's like 7-on-7, whatever it is. There's a lot of people involved in this match, and at times it definitely felt like it throughout this match. It felt a little bit long. It felt a little bit all over the place. It felt cluttered. It felt like they were just fighting in random places. We didn't know where people were. It was hard to keep up with. But with all that being said, it was still very, very fun. You never really see matches like this in WWE where it's literally just anything goes, anything happens. I know that's a thing that happens in hardcore matches where anything goes, but you never really see it take it to that next level, and that's what Stadium Stampede is for, I feel like.
Yeah, this match was absolutely chaotic, which is exactly what you want this type of match to be. We had a really cool intro from the babyface team with Jericho, Hurt Syndicate, and the Elite, where they kind of had this almost like Pulp Fiction-esque intro. But yeah, the really cool intro. We've seen Kenny Omega have his big moment of the vignette where he starts puffing on the cigar, but as a non-smoker, he tried to inhale the cigar smoke and end up coughing it all up. But yeah, really cool entrance. Then we get into the ring, and yeah, everything just breaks out into hell. We've seen them go into the catering room where we've seen Tommy Invincible show up in catering, and Satnam Singh was there. We've seen Andrade try to take a picture with some girls, and then found a very pretty dinosaur in the crowd as well. We've seen Clark Connors get super kicked up the escalator. There was so much shit going on. You seen Ricochet getting hit with a tennis ball launcher with Jericho in the back. We seen Leo Rush kind of reunite with Bobby Lashley randomly. Still don't know where that character's gonna go. I guess we'll still find out one day. But yeah, a lot of shit went on in this match. Really fun. And this is the type of stuff that can really make or break a crowd. New York was absolutely phenomenal for this entire show. In this match, they really came alive. So many cool spots. And the babyface team takes the win, to no surprise, I feel like, with the amount of names and former world champions and champions of that team has accomplished. It definitely makes sense why they did come in up top.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those matches where it's just like, all right, this is one where the crowd, you could go chill, you could go get you a drink during this match, come back, the match will still be going on. There'll be a lot of stuff going on. There'll be, 6 cameras on the screen showing what all these different people are doing in this match, as well as the in-ring action that you're seeing. So yeah, I would definitely love to see a Stadium Stampede in person to kind of see what that's like, because I feel like it'd be very different in person. Whereas, when we're watching from home, we can see all these different screens and see exactly what all these people are doing. But in person, I feel like it might be a little bit weird, but they were alive for it, so maybe not. And for our main event, we have MJF versus Darby Allin in a title versus hair match for the AEW World Championship match. And MJF does come out on top to my surprise. I kind of had the feeling that he was going to win going into the match, but as the days and weeks kind of came closer, it did kind of feel like, all right, Darby Allin's having an incredible run. Maybe there is a chance that, he'll go into All In and have a big match with a Kenny Omega or an Ospreay or whoever it will be that he would have a match against. But unfortunately, MJF does pick up the big win. But man, this was a brutal match for Darby Allin. Just soon as the match starts, he does a dive to the outside. I believe his leg hit the top rope on his way through, and it kind of just landed in an awkward way. I don't know if he landed necessarily on his neck, but it was very, very close if it wasn't on his neck. And right from the start of the match, like 20 seconds in, it looked like the match might have been taken out of for a little while, because it was just a crazy bump for him to take, and the bumps wouldn't stop there.
Yeah, we see him getting a power driver onto the side of the steps. We see him towards the end of the match, take MJF towards the haircut chair, and he goes up to the top of the scaffolding, which was also something we didn't mention. The setup, they had like the kind of typical, they had the support beams on the entrance ramp, kind of the New York style, which Darby Allin would end up jumping off of, hitting his head on the back of like the platform that they were on, which I end up was the only blood we really seen throughout the night. Because I believe that New York has some type of weird rule with blood and fans when it's so close together. But really cool spot. But in the end, like we said, MJF still manages to come on top. I am a little disappointed. I did want Darby to get the win here. I think it would have been way better if Darby goes on to win. We see MJF go bald. He'll probably stay away for a little bit, but Darby Allin could go on to continue his reign. But we've seen after the match, Darby Allin is getting kind of stretchered out after all the shit he just went through. MJF kind of kicks off all the medical team, and he's standing on top of Darby Allin. But to his surprise, Kevin Knight comes out and comes to make the save for Darby Allin. He sends MJF running away, the man who he just beat this past week. So maybe Kevin Knight might be somebody who might be next in line for the world champion. But to the surprise of everyone, while Darby Allin's getting stretchered out, Kevin Knight jumps from the top rope all the way onto him and turns heel. I definitely did not expect this from Kevin Knight. Didn't feel like we're going to see a heel turn from him. But I guess that TNT title turns people evil. We've seen it with Fletcher. We've seen it with Kevin Knight now. But the main thing is, what does this mean for Kevin Knight and Speedball now? What is that relationship going to look like?
I don't know how much I really like the kind of title change here between Darby Allin and MJF. Yeah, as I mentioned going into it, I did kind of think Darby Allin was going to win. But then when he did win, it kind of just felt like, man, I really would have liked that Darby Allin Will Ospreay match, that Darby Allin Kenny match. There was so much more meat left on the bone for Darby Allin. You would have liked to see him go against some of those bigger names on the card, but unfortunately it didn't really go that way. I do feel like there's a lot more left for Darby Allin. Obviously I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon, of course, so he'll be there a long time. There'll be another championship run for him in the future. I guess we'll just see when that comes. But yeah, as far as this match goes, this was an amazing match. I absolutely loved it. The Kevin Knight heel turn at the end, I don't really know how I feel about that either. I guess we'll see when it comes to this Wednesday, see what he says about it, what Darby says about it. But you know, because I've really been enjoying Kevin Knight. He's been probably, I mentioned to you while we were watching the show actually, that he was one of my favorite people in AEW, and I've really been enjoying a lot of his work. So to turn him heel right now, it kind of feels a little bit, you know, heartbreaking to me, but I guess that's kind of the point of it as well, to break your heart and make you hate the guy. So if that's what their job is, maybe they can make me do it this coming Wednesday. But that's going to wrap up AEW Double or Nothing 2026, an incredible pay-per-view from AEW, but what are your final thoughts on Double or Nothing?
Yeah, like I said, this is definitely one of the most well-rounded shows we've gotten all year. The crowd, I think, is probably one of those like take-home things we're talking about, is just how great they were. It was a very loud crowd, very energetic. The matches were absolutely incredible. With the names you see on this card, it's kind of hard to have a bad card with a lot of these big names. But yeah, AEW continues to deliver on pay-per-view, and yeah, can't wait for the next one.
But that's going to wrap it up. We appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.